call the meeting to order. You want to do roll call?
Councilmember Platt,
Here.
Councilmember Rigby,
Here.
Councilmember Rush, Mayor Pro Tem Larmore, Mayor Tessari,
Here.
Commissioner Oblea, Commissioner Patel will be marked absent, Commissioner Lee will be marked absent, Vice Chair Fang, Chair Charleston will be marked absent.
Mayor Pro Tem Larimore will lead us in the pledge.
Please join me in saluting our flag. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
You gonna push the tables together?
Yeah. You guys don't want to push the tables together, right? You want to kick us off, Michelle?
Absolutely. Good evening, Mayor, council members, staff, and members of the community. This afternoon, we're providing an economic development study session because many of the goals and objectives of the city and the council do tie closely to economic development and then subsequently need to be backed by the budget. So last year, if you recall, the city council did authorize the hiring of a consultant to assist the city with various studies that we felt needed to be conducted, such as leakage, gap analysis, community profiles, some demographics information. After doing an RFP and soliciting interested parties, we did choose Econ Solutions through HDL, who happens to also provide services to the city through sales tax reporting and property tax reporting. And they've been a fantastic partner, and some of the data that they have is very useful towards economic development, it's particularly when it comes to giving projections, sales tax projections for some of the businesses that are coming to the area. In discussions with Barry Foster from Econ Solutions, we did agree that this is a good opportunity to give an overview for the City Council and the Planning Commission, and field any questions or concerns that you may have, and to also potentially look into a more detailed plan for economic development. Right now we have a strategic plan, and sort of a subset of that is economic development. But as you'll see, and I'll kind of let Barry take over, but we feel that having an economic development plan may be our next best step. So with that, I'd like to introduce you to Barry Foster. He is with Econ Solutions, which is by HDL. Thank you, Barry. I'd use we are recording, so I would recommend using the mic.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm happy to be here tonight and to talk to you. As Michelle talked about, I work for HDL. HDL is probably a 35-year consulting company in Southern California. I've worked with probably 400 cities and counties throughout the state of California. Over 3 years ago, I've worked for probably 23 years for the cities, primarily in development services and development of large cities. I retired from the first system Michelle to go into economic development services.
I'm sorry, Barry, you might
I'm
want
sorry.
there.
And so, here's just the agenda we're gonna go through, but we're gonna hit a number of things. This is kind of the first step in putting together what Michelle talked about, that economic development action plan. And, it's a 3-year economic development action plan. We've done, I think, 6 of these. We're doing, one right now for the city of Diamond Bar, along with Eastvale. But it really is more of a focus. It's not a grandiose 100 or 200-page strategy. It's really looking at market conditions and what you can achieve during a shorter period of time, a 3-year period of time. But we're going to walk through and looking for a little bit of feedback from the council before we go off and draft that plan. But it gives you a real opportunity to kind of focus on things that you think that you can achieve during that short period of time and give you market conditions. Econ Solutions has been around about 3 years. We've done work for 40 different cities throughout the state. We're actually doing a lot of work up in Northern California as well. Now we have an office up in Pleasanton too. I spent a lot of time up in the Bay Area as well. But for now, we're working for about 25 different cities. And I live in Riverside, so I know the number very, very well. And so we do a lot of work in the Empire. And so we can understand that marketplace and different kinds of trade areas that are in the Inland Empire. These are just some of one of our specialties is trying to maybe reposition an older shopping center, fill a vacancy. In the case of Eastvale, we have some opportunities to do some ground up things, which is a lot of places you don't get that opportunity. You're looking at reusing and repositioning shopping centers. I think the nice thing about Eastvale was lots of times when cities incorporate, it's a kind of a mishmash of county kind of islands. I think you have more kind of a blank slate here, a lot of undeveloped property, which is a little bit easier to deal with from a development standpoint. So, but a lot of what we do is kind of matching trade areas and opportunities and facilitating transactions, either taking an old grocery store that may have been closed, and there's a number of those around, or former Kmart's or whatever, and putting in productive new uses. And so, but we've done a lot of ground up development as well. This kind of gives you a sense of some of the things that we've done in a number of cities. So what is economic development? There's a lot of different definitions, but this is one that I like to use. It really is efforts to increase economic activity by strengthening existing business areas, attracting new businesses, creating employment opportunities. It's really important to be not only have rooftops, but have the daytime population, have employment. Retailers especially are looking for that good balance, not just being a bedroom community. But you're also allowing and promoting an effective climate to do business and succeed and flourish. And so, but the bottom things are all really kind of important. It's job creation, it's income generated, it's marketplace growth, it's increased sales, it's increased local revenues, new sales tax, new TOT bed tax, property tax, and really it's just trying to have a very healthy business environment. It's really important to have that to continue to flourish. When you're looking at a retail development strategy, there's a number of different things that go into it. You want to have a process that, the city really needs to play a role in that. A lot of cities don't do that. They kind of just react to it. I think you need to take an active role. But you also need to kind of understand what your role is. And so it's really kind of leading the charge in what you think you can go after in terms of retail recruitment efforts. But you need to understand that it's still market driven. Lots of places want lots of things, but you still need to kind of go drill down to what your market analytics are, and ultimately, whether a retailer or a restaurant wants to come, it's market driven. It's whether they think that they're going to be able to succeed in that location or not, whether their customer base is there or not. And that's what we do a lot of. This market analytics, trying to figure out what they want. We're working with all these different retailers and restaurants throughout the state, so we know what they want. So it's trying to get that kind of good fit. It's telling that story, it's painting that picture of why you think you can come here and why you can be successful. And the thing that you need to do at the city is very important is facilitating that development process. I think Eastvale has a great reputation up there. They're doing good things. Not all cities have that. It's having a consistent and, I think they do a great job here too, is it's trying to fast track that development process, get those approvals, thing that they want, you hear time and time and time again, is time is money. And so, but they want a consistent process, want a consistent and fair process. And again, the ultimate goal is to have a very effective business environment. So, again, it's land use, figuring out what the appropriate land uses are. That's really important for a city. But it's confirming the trade area demands, figuring out with market analytics on what fits that location within your community with all your different market analytics, your demographics, your employment base. Do segmentation profiles to kind of figure out where the customers are at the point in their life and what they're looking for. All those things are big factors into why a business wants to come here.
Barry, sorry to interrupt you. For the benefit of the public, can you please explain a trade area?
Yeah, so a trade area, oftentimes the city council is looking at the city of Eastvale and your boundaries. But when retailers are looking at something, they're looking at a trade area. And so, and oftentimes in the old days, it would be maybe a 5-mile trade area or a 10-mile trade area. Really today, most of them, especially in these kinds of areas, is they're using drive time. It's looking at either a 5 or a 10 or 15-minute drive time. And so oftentimes it goes across the border. It might spill into Norfolk, it might spill into Ontario. And so they're looking at their customer base, those trade areas. It's not always geographic within that city. It's looking at, there could be a shopping center that's pulling a big part of Ontario as well as part of Eastvale. So you really need to kind of understand those trade areas. Another thing the city needs to do is you need to work with the property owners. Lots of times, especially the public, they fail to remember that when they want to have a certain retailer or put something into there, they don't own that shopping center, and neither does the city. It's private property, it's owned by somebody, so we really need to kind of work with that property owner and convince them that it's working together. And I think a lot of cities that are successful find out ways to work with their property owners and look at what's best for everybody. And again, I think it's just really kind of understanding those trade areas and the market analytics, and that's really important. And then, so it's understanding what, and Michelle talked about, one of the things we did here was we looked at void analysis. We looked at what's not in some of these trade areas. And then more importantly, what we do is we figure out, tracking and working with a lot of different retailers and restaurants on who's looking for deals in these kinds of trade areas and these kinds of opportunities. We know what kind of footprint we want in terms of the size, and that's constantly changing. The box of a retailer from 5 years ago or 10 years ago is drastically different. In most cases, they're getting smaller. And so you need to really kind of understand what they're looking for in terms of size, what kind of retail environments and shopping centers do they want to be in. And so we have a database that we're able to go into software with about 1,100 national retailers, restaurants, but also regional. And so to get in our database, you have to have at least 6 different stores. And so we look to figure out who's not here, and again, who are good fits. We kind of know the target list of people that they're voids. And we're looking at categories. You can also track
We don't want one, so it's fine.
Like the reverse psychology.
Reverse psychology, right?
So again, kind of look at the motivation. So the city's looking at having a good mix of things. They're trying to create those quality retail areas.
So, I'm sorry, Barry, just to interrupt for just a moment. When Barry made the comment about Trader Joe's looking for a more dense area, although we kind of consider Eastvale to be rather dense, they're looking for population density of about 100,000 with immediate 1 mile radius, right?
They're looking at really very urban infill locations, LA, San Francisco, a few places in San Diego, and Trader Joe's is probably focused more outside of California right now and they really had some bad experiences in New England. The store in Corona is a terrible store for them, and so they're just looking at, it's really hard to get them motivated to look even at anywhere in New England. But again, it's the city's looking for trying to put things together that make sense and all those kinds of things, and creating revenue opportunities. Sales tax is very important to cities, attracting tenants that fit. The property owners look at something a little bit different. They're looking at what their vacancy rates are. They're looking at what kind of rent they can get. Oftentimes, they're looking to do something where somebody's willing to take a building as is without any tenant improvement contribution. Almost every national retail credit tenant today is going to demand a TI loan contribution. That's part of the business right now. Oftentimes, some of these smaller shopping center owners are not willing to do that. So it's trying to find some of those happy grounds where you're able to still get somebody in there that has some quality and is a good fit, but still works for the property owner. So here's just a snapshot of Eastvale and looking at some of those market analytics. Population on the left is the city of Eastville, and on the right is your trade area. For the purpose of this trade area, we used Limonite and Hamlet, and so that's going to take in Eastville. It's going to take in part of the Valley. It's probably going to take in part of Ontario as well. And so looking at that trade area, so this is a 10-minute drive time from that intersection. So you can look at the population. It's a good solid population. It's not a dense area, but it's something that you can usually work with most people on. The households that are there. One of the strongest points you have is your average household income. So you can see that when you look at Eastville, and then when you use the trade area, it dips down. It's taking in part of the Valley, so it's coming out of it. But when retailers are looking at that, they're looking at what's in that trade area, and you just need to be honest and realistic. Owners and renters, white collar, blue collar, and then the ethnic mix. We also look at the strengths and the opportunities, but then we also look at the weaknesses and the challenges. And so, I think you still have a very strategic location. It's easy to get to. It has good access to a number of freeways. That's a real positive. And you've got development opportunities. A lot of communities don't. A lot of communities that we work with, we're doing a lot of infill stuff, and it's a little bit more of a challenge. So I think you've got opportunities. Some of the existing shopping centers, some of the ones that are being planned are on the way. And you're ethnically that diverse, and I think for most people, most retail and restaurants, that's a very good thing, especially in California. And you have you've had a lot of recognition from a lot of different institutions, and it's a great place to live and to work and to visit and shop and all those things. Weaknesses and challenges. It's always kind of important to know some of the things that you've got to try to maybe overcome. And so you don't have a downtown area. And I've worked with some communities where we've tried to build a downtown area. It's really kind of difficult to do. It takes a lot of time. And you've got some commuters that are going out in the daytime to work in other places. And then you've got some communities around here that have larger shopping centers that might pull some greater lengths over to Corona or Chino Hills or Riverside or Rancho Cucamonga. the left, it's alphabetical, it's not any kind of numerical ranking, but you can just see the different mix of retail restaurants that are on there that make up your top 25 in terms of sales tax reducers. Obviously, there's one that's coming with Costco that will be at the top of that list. And, you know, Costco is very strategic about when they build a new store. They look at, they track zip codes when people making purchases, and they figure out when people are not going into their stores. But they also don't want to cannibalize the existing stores. So they spend a lot of time trying to figure out when they do have a void, and how they can fill it, and what that's going to do to impact their existing stores. And I think it's a great thing that they've selected to come here. There was a void that went to their existing stores, and you know, I know the folks at Costco very, very well. There's been a couple other Costco deals right now up in north of California, but they put a lot of thinking and a lot of due diligence into when they're going to come into a location. So I expect that they'll do very, very well here. We do the consumer demand and market supply assessment. I mentioned that earlier, that we track, we look at a trade area, and we figure out what people are spending their money on in all these different categories. So these are business categories or product categories. And looking at, it's a red number, they're not getting everything within that trade area. We have to go outside the trade area to spend their money. That's lost sales tax revenue to the city of East Bend. And so what I was looking at is kind of being the glass half full. That's also an opportunity to bring somebody in and help fill that void. So that's really important to tell that picture when you're trying to get somebody to come in here. So these are all the different categories that we've identified that there's opportunities. These are the categories where they're having to go outside of Eastvale to spend some of their money outside the trade area. And here's the void analysis that we talked about, and we're looking at, you know, we came up with a list of people, of businesses, restaurants, retailers that are not here. And so, you know, you see Trader Joe's is not here, they put it on here. They're not ready to do something right now, but I think they will be. I think certainly you've got the kind of market analytics as the community continues to grow, that you'll get a Trader Joe's. It just won't be in the next year or so, but certainly I think it's a possibility here. Same thing with Sprouts, and we're doing a Sprouts right now. We're in construction in Diamond Bar by our office. We're doing one up north. We're looking at another one in LA County right now. Sprouts, I certainly think the market analytics work here for Sprouts, but they just settled a lawsuit with the family that started the company many, many years ago. And that settlement agreement, they're prohibited from doing any kind of new store in western Riverside County for the next 3.5 years. That's just the reality. I met with the Sprouts person up in Las Vegas at the shopping center conference, and there's no way to overcome that. But you know, again, you need to be realistic about what you can do during this time frame. But I still think it's a great fit. Same thing with Whole Foods as a new 365 concept. We helped do the one that's under construction in Upland, which is the first one in the inland region. And they're doing the second one in Uplands. And then they're going to come back, open them, and see how they do before they go and look at doing more deals.
I have a quick question. You put Mother's Market in there, and I'm pretty familiar with their product and what they do. I know they're pretty much an Orange County-based company, but the quality of their product, their stores are incredible. I know it'd be a good alternative if Trader Joe's wasn't, you know, willing or not able to come to Eastville, but definitely one of the voids for us is a Whole Foods Market. I think it's pretty clear. That's an area. Would Mother's Market be interested in something to come into the city of Eastville, hence it being in the Riverside, but kind of on that Orange County border? Would they not be willing to come in? I mean, from what you can tell, so I'm familiar with the company, but I don't know necessarily if they'd be willing to, or that's something they would be entertaining.
Yeah, I think they're starting to look beyond areas now. I mean, they're in LA County. They kind of started from Orange County, but they're in LA County. You know, I know that at one point they were even looking at a site in Corona. And you know, Corona calls themselves as being Orange County.
Yeah.
And so my daughter played club soccer there for a long time. I was a little wild with those parents, but and so I don't think it's that big a stretch. And so again, it's just getting with them and Eastvale, it's where can I go? Where's the shopping center opportunity? Where can I get my kind of box in the shopping center that I want to be in? So it's spending the time to figure out what that good fit is. But I think that would be a good one. And there are some of those kind of specialty grocery stores that are starting to do a little bit more. You know, there's 4 or 5 of them out there that are being a little bit more aggressive. And grocery is a great example because the traditional grocery stores, the Vons and the Albertsons and those folks, the Ralphs, are not really doing deals anymore. Ralphs would just as soon not be in the Inland Empire. I mean, they feel that the Inland Empire is a food loss area, and that's what they'll tell you. And so I think a lot of the other more specialty grocers are spending some more time figuring out there's great opportunities here, and they're a little bit smaller boxes. Aldi is coming in and doing. I mean, I did the distribution center in Mill Valley, and we've done a couple of Aldis, and Aldi actually owns Trader Joe's. And so it's a German-based company, and they've got about 35 locations open, and what they're doing. And they've specifically talked to me, and I know they talked to Michelle about Eastvale. So I think that would be a good too. But and there's some on this list that, you know, I think that they're all good fits. It's finding where they can go and it makes some sense. And again, so now we're talking a little bit for the Economic Development Action Plan. We want to figure out some of these kind of focus areas of opportunity. And we're not throwing everything possible out there, but we're looking at a number of different areas. But we can achieve some things in the next 5 years. So the 5 areas that we were looking at were kind of the focus areas of opportunity is Archibald and Schleichman, Lymanite and Archibald, Lymanite and Sumner, the Evergreen Center, and you know the plus Evergreen pretty well. They've got 2 spaces back, and I think the new Smart and Final last year there would be that's a great fit. Those stores are doing fantastic, and I think that will perform some pretty big numbers. And Smart and Final they've actually taken it from 20,000 square feet to 25. Now they're doing a little over 30,000 square feet. And you go in there, and if I blindfolded you went in there, and you didn't know where you're at, you would think you were in Sprouts. They look fantastic, and they do really big business. And I think that would be a great store for them. And then Limelight and Hammer. So again, we're looking at a number of these focus areas of opportunity that we think make some sense to try to bring in some more retail activity. Just to kind of, and then again, like with restaurants, on the retail, the off-price retail is probably the biggest area of growth in retail. So whether it's Burlington Coat Factory, 99 cent only, a lot of those stores, TJ Maxx, Home Goods, Marshalls, are part of that same company. You know, they're seeing opportunities to go into a lot of areas and get space that might have been a former grocery store or something else, and they're able to get those a little bit less expensive than doing some ground up development. But those kind of opportunities, I think, are really good fits. On the restaurant side, it's still pretty slow for kind of the sit-down full-service restaurants. You're still not seeing a lot of that right now. The biggest growth, kind of the explosion of growth in restaurants, is fast casual, and that's the most dominant area. And you know, they're a little bit smaller footprints. They're more like 3,000 to maybe 3,500 square feet. They cook everything to order, but you know, people want things. They want good quality, but they want it quick. And a lot of fast casuals are going to drive-thrus, especially in kind of suburban locations. I'm not a drive-thru person. My wife is, and so my wife, I'm not going to stop on the way home to get dinner if there's not a drive-thru. But the habit is doing almost all drive-thrus now. Smash Burger is going to drive-thrus. Panera. I'm relocating to Panera. I did 6 years ago. It was 2,800 square feet. Now they want 4,300 square feet with the drive-thru. They can push another 15 to 20% of their business through the drive-thru. that's the market. That's where it's at. And the sit-down restaurants will come, but they're a little bit slower to come back. Chili's just opened up about a year and a half ago up in Upland. And that was the first Chili's. They did 5 Chili's that year. Those were the first 5 new Chili's in 8 years. And that was the only one that was done in California. And it's doing huge numbers, but they're just being real selective about when they come in. They don't want to cannibalize in their existing stores. And, you know, that business has changed a lot. They have a lot of competition from the fast casual.
Mr. Mayor? I have
Yes, sir.
a question on the slide, if I could. Well, it's a bit loud. I'm curious what your methodology is. I'm assuming red is the more focused area and going out in somewhat concentric areas. Primarily focused on the area of Limonite and Archibald there. And I appreciate the update, definitely, but from my perspective, a responsible economic development policy really has 3 prongs to it. You have the retail, which obviously drives the sales tax and drives the regional traffic as well as sub-regional. You have the, call it the R&D industrial type component. I think Corona's done a fairly decent job revitalizing the Surface Club area where it was all trucking and industrial and bringing some biotech, things of that nature. And you have the workforce housing type of aspect too, which, you know, we lack fairly well on, and with our density is a bit difficult. But on the area of Limonite and Archibald there, I'm not sure if you've taken any environmental constraints or things of that nature into this analysis, but that area is really constrained by the Chino Airport and a lot of the retail type uses I think that we would like to enjoy aren't necessarily available there due to the concentration restrictions and runways and things of that nature. So long story short, I'm curious how you came up with these maps, kind of more of what they mean, what the methodology behind them is.
Well, the maps are showing the drive times, so that's a 5, 10, and 15-minute drive time. The reason we picked these locations was primarily for that one is because of the new Walmart center that's going to be there, so there's opportunities there. Just looking at if there are others that you think are important that want to be on there. There will be a component, you know, talking about logistics and distribution as well. I think there's certainly areas there for Eastville to have benefit from that too, and so that will be another component there. Another component would be healthcare too, and so looking at trying to get the hospital and some healthcare at the Goodman project. And so I think those will also be areas, but we're looking at just kind of focus areas, but there will be other components that will be part of the action plan.
Okay, appreciate that. And maybe this is part of the overall report, but I'd be interested to see how much commercial retail we have. I know it's broken down somewhat in the sales tax, but, you know, is that, and just anecdotally from what I've heard, kind of going on the restaurant theme, is we're really heavy on the service commercial retail. We got a lot of drive-throughs. You know, the running joke in the city is, you know, another pizza place. I mean, I think we have, you know, 4 or 5 pizza places, which is fine. I like pizza, but, you know, a wide diversity of things. But I'd be interested to see how much commercial we have broken down by whatever categories they're broken down by, and then our absorption levels. How much can we absorb with our current build-out scenarios? I mean, you know, from what I hear from staff and folks out there is, yeah, we need more commercial, and that's great. That's my coffee. But where is that break-even point where, you know, we don't have a lot of land left, so I think we need to be in the position to be selective in the type of retail that we bring in, because we can only absorb so much. I just don't know what that number is.
Yeah, as part of doing the economic development action plan, we'll put that in there and figure out what's there and what can be there, but also looking at kind of the build out of the city too.
Okay.
But going earlier, I talked about that consumer demand and market supply. So that's also figuring out, not by pizza category, but by fast casual and other, what's leaking out, what's going outside the community. And so we're kind of focusing really on a lot of retailers and restaurants within those components, because that's leakage that's going outside the community right now.
Yes, and I agree with that. I think we did a leakage study a couple of years ago. I don't know if it's been updated, but you know, auto and healthcare are the 2 things I hear, again, just anecdotally. I think we're just recently done a decent job on getting the MOBs in some of those offices, and I think there's a dialysis center opening up soon. So it seems like we're moving there, which is great. I'm not sure if that's, a longer path, because it seems like it's harder for people, people don't like changing doctors, they don't like changing banks. They'll switch where they go to eat, but those two seem to have a little bit more inertia to overcome in order to actually get, with healthcare and health plans and all that stuff, so.
Almost every economic development action plan that we've done like 7 now, and is almost every one of them has had a healthcare component, and I think communities need to have that, but it's healthcare today is very different than what it was 10 years ago.
Sure.
So I mean, the time frame to permit a brand new hospital to the state of California is anywhere from 7 to 10 years. And it's the cost per bed is huge. And so a lot of what they're doing is kind of smaller hospitals, and then they're doing more outpatient things, and they're doing more urgent cares and retail centers and all those kinds of things. It's a lot easier and more cost effective to do those kinds of things, and you can do them a lot quicker. So there's a lot of different components that go into it, but that's really, really changing. With healthcare and medical, with the new presidents and new things in Washington, D.C., and the possibility that Obamacare may go away, they're all kind of taking a pause right now, trying to figure out
Sure.
what's it going to be like a year from now or 2 years from now.
Yeah, I think the CEO of San Antonio, which has an MOB in urgent care here for their new facility in Upland, or their expansion, mentioned to me, and this was a while ago, it was around $1.7 million per bed, when all was said and done.
We did the action plan for Upland, and a big part of that was their expansion of their hospital and everything around there. But they're actually going to a lot more urgent care and outpatient places, and they're trying to get them in other communities so that they can really do a diverse number of things.
Thank you.
So again, just to kind of hit again development services, and I think it's really important. I think that Michelle and her team and the council should be applauded for what they've been able to do in terms of development services. We have a great reputation here, and being business friendly and embracing that can-do attitude and that culture, and trying to really work in a partnership with the development community, and still getting what you want in terms of standards and what it looks like, and make sure you're doing it right. When I work for cities, people that work for me, it's really important that you're not there unless there's somebody that wants to come develop something, unless there are people that are living there. They're the clients, they're the customers, and so that customer service is really, really important. I think a lot of cities kind of forget that sometimes. But it's having a vision that's really shared between the council and the city staff, and understanding, how to do this and do that right. Economic development is a huge opportunity to grow revenues and do things and make the community what you want it to be. So working together and really a partnership is important. And I think that you need to strive to make Eastville the best place to do business. When people come here and when they get done, it's really important to say, how was the process? How did you like? They're investing sometimes millions of dollars in doing projects here, and so you want it to be a good experience. You want them to come back and do it again. Hopefully again. And I know you have some developers that have done a number of projects here, and I think that they've come to realize that it is a good experience and that they have made a good investment. I think that's really, really important.
Barry, if I could jump in for a moment. If the council recalls, when we did our strategic plan, we did a lot of sessions with stakeholders, and those were some of the questions that we were asking our stakeholders. What can we do better? Because as Barry had said, time is money. And so some of the feedback that we received from our stakeholders was about the process. And these are things that through council support and approval we have rolled out, such as bringing the fire inspector in-house. It is a contract with the county, but we didn't have a dedicated fire inspector, so all of the development plans were hitting a logjam with the county because we were just one of many projects at the county. So we have changed that and we've brought that in-house. We did do something a little bit unique in that we share that position with the city of Norco, 50-50 split. So we have been listening to our development community and trying to meet them on some of their demands to get them through the process faster and more efficiently. But there's still work to do. So I think it's going to be something that's always going to be a work in process. I think there's always room for improvement. And
And I think, Michelle, that's really important what you just said, because you never want to get complacent. You're always striving to be even better and better and better, and that's a process that you can always learn things a little bit, do things a little bit different, and again, striving to be the best. And it's something you just continue to do to make this a great place to do business. So that economic development action plan, again, it's for a 3-year period of time. It's recognizing the marketplace. It's understanding your trade areas and your market analytics and what you are and what you can be. It's identifying near-term opportunities. And so it'll include those focus areas. It'll include healthcare. It will include logistics and distribution. I think those are all great opportunities here. And the logistics and the distribution and healthcare and medical. That's the job creation. That kind of makes you that whole community having daytime population. That's really, really important. It's not just having the rooftops. You can't be nobody here all day long and then everybody comes back at night. It's having it's not being a veteran community. It's having a lot of job production here, and you're certainly going in the right direction. But I think there's more opportunities to even do greater things there. And then it's establishing some goals and objectives that can be accomplished during that three-year period of time. And what we typically do is then come back after about a year and a half and see how we're doing and see how we're accomplishing those goals and objectives. And there's some things that we want to try to adjust and take care of something that we didn't realize when we drafted the plan. There's always something like that, but it's a dynamic thing. It's not just an overall strategy, and that's why we use the term action. It's really emphasizing action, making things happen. So the next steps is certainly like to hear from you tonight. Anything that you think is important to go into that. But then we're going to draft that 3-year plan, and we'll work with Michelle and staff, and then we'll come back and present it to the city council and get your thoughts. And if we need to tweak things and make things better or do something in a different direction, we'll do that, and look to then adopt the plan.
And lastly, if I could also add, economic development is not something that happens overnight. It's very much relationship-based. It takes time on cultivating. Sometimes you have to plant seeds, and you keep sowing them over and over again. Our first conversations with Costco started back in 2011. And here we are, 2017, and it's finally coming to fruition. Our hospital that we're still in negotiations with is actually not the first hospital, and the original hospital user, that started back in 2012. So again, these conversations and these projects take time, and a lot of there's a lot of consideration that goes into the timing for the prospective user. If you take Trader Joe's, Sprouts, yes, our demographic is very attractive. It speaks to their market, but just because we want it does not mean that the timing is right for them. And so these are some uses that you have to keep chasing over and over again and prevail. Hopefully you prevail eventually, but again, it takes time. So having a 3-year action plan is certainly going to be a step in the right direction. I think as the city grows, being 7 years old now, we've been doing a great job with our small but mighty team. But I think having more of a framework and more resources, such as a consultant like Barry, to help us take things to the next level is a prudent step in the right direction.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you. What's your last name, Barry? I'm sorry? Foster. Mr. Foster. Thank you, Mr. Foster. So I had a couple of comments, and some of them mirror what Councilmember Rush was stating. With the types of businesses that you have listed here in the void analysis, that's where I'm going to mainly focus today. But we absolutely have voids in certain types of businesses in town, but in other cases we have an overabundance. And competition is great, but where there are those voids, for instance, on a sit-down restaurant, a nice restaurant, I realize that there are reality constraints that you were talking about. But that being said, we need to have, when you're looking, we need to have a diversity of businesses coming in. So something to keep in mind. Also, I understand the constraints that you were mentioning about understanding our market. But one thing, and you are the expert, but it would be, I would like to see what the void analysis, or not the void analysis, but the shopping that communities of with a similar income, what do they go to? Why aren't we advertising to those shops to come here? And also in that analysis, maybe an analysis of communities with similar demographics. Why can't we have those types of businesses here? I realize once you start to go out those concentric circles, we are different than our neighbors, but still something that I would like to see considered as part of this analysis. Lastly, if you could speak to this, the future of malls. One of the plans that I think many of us would like to see, because of the fact that we get much of our revenues from sales tax, that's a driver, we'd like to see the Leal property eventually turn into a mall. That being said, I've heard lots of people say that malls are going to be disappearing. Maybe we're moving more towards services. Do we need to focus on that? So.
I think, and I gave a lot of presentations on this subject, and I think malls are always going to be there. It's just kind of figuring out what the future is. And so I think if you're looking at a lot of what they're doing is they're not really doing, indoor malls and those kinds of things. It's making sure the environment's right. It's having, outdoor settings where people can gather. It's sometimes incorporating water features and plazas and everything else into there, but it's doing more of a mix of food-related things. So, especially with millennials are really into, they want to experience things. It's not so much, what am I going to pay for something? And so they're very into eating and food, and certainly retail has been hit hard by the internet, the Amazons and all that. Amazon is only going to get bigger, but if the really good retailers figure out how to make a mix of selling things online, people still want to kind of get it quick and pick it up. And so if you see Target, I think your Target here had one of the remodels where they have an express where you can go in, you can order something, and you don't have to stand in line. You have an express thing
I think, yeah, just to reiterate, I think, I'd like to see where we are with those other two-tier aspects, what opportunities, if any, or is our future gonna be a bedroom community with supporting retail? But, we have industrial areas, what are the opportunities to pull in those other types of businesses, whether it be biotech or R&D or, 6 months ago, I heard all that's dead, everyone's doing warehouse distribution. And we've seen that, infamously with the Skechers in Moreno Valley, some of the other issues, that have gone on with Amazon, throughout this region. What's the future of that industry throughout our build-out? And then the workforce housing aspect as well, what opportunities do we have, again, if any, associated with those aspects?
And I think logistics and distribution, that whole environment has drastically changed. I did the Skechers facility in Moreno Valley, and I've done a couple of Amazons in other communities too. So, and there's certainly, Amazon is doing million square foot facilities right now, but they've also got plans to do more 200, 300,000 foot facilities where they can go into more urban areas. And so they're constantly evolving and changing. And our R&D in small buildings, it's still really tough. And even in Orange County, in some areas, it's tough to do those kinds of deals right now. But that market will kind of come around again too, and it goes in cycles. And but probably more than, I think the last I saw, 55% of all the new logistics and distribution is e-commerce related, and a lot of that is point of sale. And Amazon doesn't have point of sale, but they could go back and they could restructure, and they could do point of sale if they wanted to. It's really, it depends on what they want to do. But so I think e-commerce is for those kinds of facilities. That's the future. And there's a lot of cities that we're working with to try to do that, working with those developers to try to bring in those kinds of users and those kinds of tenants that can help offset a little bit on the retail side because you're having that point of sale.
So-
Sorry, Michelle. I had heard a rumor, and I don't know if it's just that, that at one point in the near future, with the advent of 3D printing technology, you could, the example I heard was you can buy a pair of sneakers, and Amazon or Walmart or whoever would print, going back towards manufacturing, I guess, if you want to call it manufacturing, on site, and then they'd have a point to sell area where you would go and pick up those sneakers or whatever widget. Is that still out there in the ether, or is that just, a pipe dream?
I don't know how close that is away, but there's all kinds of things. And, some of the stuff that Amazon's doing today, if you would have talked about that 10 years ago, you would have thought, no way. But it's amazing. When we were talking to Amazon years and years ago, we went up to Seattle and met with them for a couple of days. They were light years in front of people trying to figure out where they want to be a couple years down the road. So there's a lot of companies that they're trying to figure out how to compete and do things right and better and all that. And so that whole environment is changing. So I think it's having the opportunities to make those good fits in your community. That makes a lot of sense.
With the recent opening of the Goodman Commerce Center Business Park, that's the first time that Eastville has space for our businesses that is not specifically retail. So, you look at City Hall, we're in a retail shopping center because there was nowhere else to go. But now that we have office space that is available to various users, we are seeing a evolution, if you will, of the mix of businesses here in Eastville. And that has been largely through Goodman, or the Goodman Commerce Center, really listening to the City Council and the Planning Commissioners with what your vision and the needs of the community are. So they've been a very good partner, and that's how we're having things like Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche Global Training Center that's going to have jobs. It's going to have people from all over the world coming into Eastville. And I can't give the specifics on some of the other details because we don't have letters of intent and executed lease agreements yet, but we do have light manufacturing looking at some of the buildings in the business park. There's building 1 and 2 are still up for grabs, but there's roughly 6 different businesses looking at each one. Some of them are light manufacturing, some of them are injection molding, manufacturing, design, and sales of recreational vehicles, plastics injection molding, IT support, logistics, data management center. We have in the campus project, which is the Brad Boatman's project. We have our first food manufacturer that's doing their first West Coast expansion. They're out of Chicago and bring in a lot of products into the port of Long Beach through China and the other the other Asian communities, and so they will be doing dry goods manufacturing that that serves specifically some of the large West Coast fast casual. Taco Bell is their #1 client. But these are because we now have these types of facilities and we have the space, which we've never had before, we're now starting to see a lot of different mixes come into the city. We have Parker House, which is an expansion and relocation of a furniture manufacturer from the city of Chino. Again, these types of some of these deals have been 2 years in the making. Parker House, we met with them almost 2 years ago now, and it's finally coming to fruition. Although some of these uses are not sales tax producers, that's not the end-all be-all. Looking at the job creation, that's important. Looking at the different types of uses that are coming into the community. Again, those are all, it has to be balanced. It can't just be rooftops and it can't just be retail. So there does have to be a balance of uses and employment opportunities.
Commissioner Oblea, anything?
Well, from what I've heard in the past, and what I've heard today, and what I've heard from residents, we need more full-service restaurants in this area and businesses like that. And in order to attract them, we need to have a daytime community that, I know some of these business parks are going to draw businesses, but the employee numbers there are kind of small, maybe, I just wonder if you have in mind any kind of office buildings to attract, office, some company that might need office space, and, large employee numbers, and, something like that, that's, have a strong daytime community that will be here and want to use and need to use fast casual or sit-down restaurants and stuff like that. So I think we can keep that in mind.
Commissioner Fang, anything?
I would actually echo Councilmember Mullenhour's comment on the analysis, but I'm actually interested in, you mentioned that the board analysis is generated by good habits, which restaurants or retailers that have 6 or more are included into the case. Is there a way to sort of expand that to include others that are less than that, or is that just a policy?
That's the limitations of our software. And I don't know of a database out there that would be able to go do that. But, we also work with a lot of real estate brokers and they have a pretty good handle on those kind of small mom and pop people that are doing things, but they're a little harder to track and understand. And some shopping center owners, sometimes they're not willing to go with somebody that has one restaurant because they're not kind of more of a financial risk. And, but yeah, we have a limitation in our database. The brokers and trying to understand who's doing other kinds of things out there. You're gonna have a challenge if you're looking for somebody that's got one restaurant unless you happen to know somebody that has that restaurant. But yeah, if there's somebody that's got four, certainly we would love to talk to them about doing those kinds of things. But again, I think that just to echo the point that that daytime population is really, really important in attracting retailers, and especially restaurants. I sit on restaurants, but they're not doing a lot right now. Office development, people that are doing large-scale companies that want offices that are in Orange County or they're in LA, you're not going to be able to entice them out here. So really kind of the future and the growth out here is more kind of logistics and distribution. And then there's some smaller office. Corona had all kinds of Class A office that were built before everything crashed and burned, and they're just not going to start to fill that back up again.
Thank you, sir.
I think they've filled it a lot. From what I've seen is mostly public institutions have been moving into there, not your large corporations. I know the Alvord Unified School District took a big space, and not what you would typically understand is the large corporate entities.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that space was, there were actually home builders that went away, and then so they had to kind of reposition. Where Monster bought those couple of buildings there, they were able to buy that probably for 25 cents on the dollar and go into facilities that you can't compete with a new ground up development for that.
We do have an office building that is coming at the campus. Off the top of my head, I can't remember what the height, maybe Kathy? It's a 2-story building. I want to say it's like 10,000 square feet. Yeah, so we do have a small office building coming that will be on Archibald across from Huber Park. And then there's, again, additional small business units that are similar to what we have in the Goodman Commerce Center. But going back to your comment and question about diversity, this is, again, where it's critical to have a strong relationship with the developer and the developer's leasing agents, and to be pushing to them the desires, the goals and objectives of the city. So Evergreen is a perfect example. They heard you loud and clear about wanting some diversity. They heard the planning commissioners. Commissioner Feng was particularly persistent on this on this front about having diversity. So we do have in that center we have 2 uses coming in. 10 Ren tea time, and a pokey place. So Cream Street, right. So you have some of our developers are better than others at listening to the wants and needs of the community, and not just looking for who's going to sign a lease the fastest at top rents. And that's the other side of the equation that citizens need to realize. It is a market-driven process, and if you have someone like Eastvale Gateway that has 0 vacancy and a lot of people that want to be there, they can charge $4 or $5 a square foot, and that does take the mom and pops out of the equation, because they just do not have the credit rating and the backing like a major franchisee or a major anchor to be able to afford those types of rents. So there's some give and take, but again, pushing the city's goals and objectives, and continually meeting with them, and being persistent, and then driving some of this from land use decisions. If you recall the Leal specific plan, I think we were actually looking at prohibiting drive-throughs, so that you don't have a lot of fast casuals, you don't have another McDonald's, you don't have things of that nature. But then again, as Barry pointed out, some of these restaurants are adding drive-throughs as a means of attracting someone that wants their type of services, but faster. So Panera, The Habit. So it's
The
a
Hat.
balance, the hat.
If we're gonna get a drive-through, we need a hat.
We need a hat.
If you want, it's good, if you want a heart attack. it's
That's
good.
okay. That's why we got
That's good,
medical
though.
office buildings coming.
It is
I
good,
think
it is
Michelle
good.
brings up a great point, you know,
Have the best fish off the bit.
developers like Evergreen, you know, they're really nice to work with. We've done a lot of different transactions with them. And they actually are, they're kind of a preferred developer for Sprouts. You know, they would have liked to have done a Sprouts here, but they can't do it because of that settlement agreement. We're working with them, for Sprouts up north. And they love to kind of get the kind of analytics that we have because it really tells that story and helps them get some of those users. We're working with Evergreen for Sprouts and an LA County city. So, I mean, if they could do it within shorter than 3.5 years, they would do it, but they can't wait that long to get an anchor space in that shopping center. So it still needs to be market relevant and what can happen, within a year.
Thank you very much. I think we've actually done a good job. I don't think anybody can deny that we're well on our way to actually accomplishing many of the goals that were set out in this. And I think one of the things we probably need to do is focus on this marketing component of it. Maybe we're just not presenting ourselves in a way. Maybe somebody with a marketing background could give us some tips on how to better present ourselves to make us more attractive. I think as a city, we should be in the driver's seat. We should be doing first right of refusal. You know, you want to come here? No. Well, you know, we should be picking and choosing. But unfortunately, we don't have the pads for people to come in. So, but it's happening slowly. We need to exercise patience.
Well, and you have to also keep in mind that a shopping center that's already established, where they may have a vacancy, if a proposed tenant comes in to speak to, you know, the broker, and the land use is consistent with what was approved for that shopping center years ago, we really have no say. We can't tell them who they can and cannot lease to once you've already approved a project, unless there is some kind of city policy behind it, such as prohibiting medical marijuana dispensaries. We don't really have a say in that. They come to us for the TI and the tenant improvements and their sign approvals, but we can't tell them, you know, we don't want another yogurt store if that's who is an appropriate use for that project and it aligns with what was approved previously. So, you know, going back to the Eastvale Gateway, for example, I'm sure there's people that don't want, you know, didn't want another pizza place where Blaze Pizza is, but that use is consistent with the zoning, and it was just a TI, so.
I like Blaze.
I'm sorry?
I like Blaze.
Yeah, my kids,
I'm a big fan.
I like
I'm a big
I like
fan.
Blaze
I'm
too.
a big fan.
Councilman
I like
Platt.
Blaze too.
Hey, I had a quick question. As far as kind of what you also offer, do you actually handle them? Because I think the mayor's onto a solid point. Is also, are we doing? The question is, are we? I think with the staff that we have, doing a fantastic job. I think, but can we do more to market yourself? Marketing is a very powerful tool. Is that something you're also doing? Is actually marketing Eastville Village are you guess more? I don't know if you want to answer that question, 'cause then I can.
No, we are helping market opportunities here, but as Michelle said, we also have to work with the shopping center owners and their leasing people. And I have to say, most of the people that have properties in Eastvale, we have relationships, whether it's Lewis or
Yeah.
Evergreen or Goodman or whoever. We know the brokers really, really well, and we're working with them sometimes in multiple cities. And so we have pretty good relationships with them. Ultimately, it's their property, and so we need to find ways that we can work together. But you know, we've brought a lot of kind of opportunities with some people, so get our foot in the door, and then get a dialogue going with them.
Thank you, sir. Due to time
Along,
constraints.
yes, I will make it very quick.
Okay.
City staff is working on the final touches of rolling out an economic development website. that will feature all of the different shopping centers. It'll feature some of the studies that we've conducted. We do have a marketing brochure that we distribute from City Hall. It's also currently already posted on the city's website, along with, census data, various links to, foreign trade zone information, all of this. So there is a lot that is going on behind the scenes that we're probably not doing the best job of continually updating and articulating. So that's also part of this economic development website, which will be more regular updates on new tenants that are coming to the center, various opportunities that exist, and staff's efforts to bring in additional users and employers.
All right.
So that's kind of, I would say that's our fault for maybe not providing more regular updates to the community on what's going on, but that also is, I think, a function of lack of staff resources at City Hall. So again, you'll see the economic development website rolling out pretty soon. That's the drone videos that we've been posting on Facebook. Those are things that are going to be also featured on the website as well.
Thank you. And one last question from Councilman Rupi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Real quick, I agree with the whole marketing aspect, and there's always ways that we can look to improve and do better. One of the questions that I had was, are we taking into, and this can be answered next time at a later time, are we taking into consideration what Ontario Ranch is doing? Because I think that's very crucial for us to look at that and to stay one step ahead of them as to what they're doing on their economic development.
Thank you, sir. Do you need direction? Or is this a,
It would be helpful to have some consensus from the council to move forward with the economic development action plan.
I think we should move forward. Anybody
Agreed.
opposed to that?
Agreed.
All right. I think we have a consensus. Everybody wants you to move forward.
Perfect.
Meeting adjourned. We'll be back in
12 minutes.
soon to start the council meeting.
I was gonna move one other thing.